Hey there, so if there's one word that has been thrown around, sometimes used appropriately, sometimes misused, is the word narcissism. Now, who is a narcissist, and are you part of the solution or part of the problem? Okay, and today we're going to talk about, are you nurturing narcissistic traits in your child's life? If you're new here, my name is Dr. Lema and welcome to Autism and Beyond. I hope you watched till the end of this video. So, who is a narcissist? A narcissist is a person who is self-centered, who is very arrogant and think very highly of themselves, and it's delusional. They lack empathy and they just cannot understand other people's feelings based on what they're doing. And they expect actually other people to behave the same way. Like every other person should be able to be there to make sure their wishes and their desires and their delusions are actually constantly fed. That's a narcissist. So, is narcissism self-love? No, it's not. Narcissism stems from insecurity. Actually, people are narcissists because they have this deep feeling of being not enough. And so they need all these other external things to feed constantly into their ego. That's a narcissist. While self-love is actually appreciating your worth and treating yourself based on that worth that you perceive. So self-love is inside out, narcissism is outside in. So based on that, any child who has a low self-esteem, who is insecure, and has this constant need of being filled with these things that are outside of them, has a very high risk of developing narcissistic traits. So as a parent, what kind of things could you be doing that could actually be fueling these traits in your child? The first thing is treating your child as the only special human being in this world. All right? Now we have almost 8 billion people in this world, and trust me, everyone is special, especially for our parents who have children who are different. Okay? I'm a parent of a child on the spectrum. And sometimes you're being tempted to feel like, no, my child needs special treatment. Well, it is okay for you to give your child special treatment, but that should not cancel the fact that every child deserves to be loved, to be respected, and no child is actually more special than others. Their needs could be different, but that does not make anyone more special. No one is more chosen than others. We are all chosen, that's why we are actually here. And how could we be doing this? Things like over-pampering, overvaluing, demeaning others in favor of your children. How do you treat the people around this child? For example, how do you treat your nanny? How do you treat your nieces and nephews who live with these children? How do you talk about other people in reference to your child? Which kind of friends are you selecting for your child? And how are you basing that selection? Is it based on the car they drive, the neighborhood they live, or is it based on the value and behaviors of these other children? Things like, are you making your child the center of attention? That means this child can actually do anything, anytime, anyhow they want it, and regardless of what they do, there are no consequences attached to whatever they do. They can actually take things and throw around, and it's not like they're having a meltdown. No, it's just a temper tantrum because somebody told them no. And now because you're parent and you're feeling, oh my God, my child cannot cry, you feel it is okay for this child to do all those things. Trust me, you're raising up a narcissist. If you're a parent of a child who is on the spectrum, you're not sure, is it a temper tantrum or is it a meltdown? I did a video, please go check it. It will really, really help you to differentiate between a temper tantrum and a meltdown for our children on the spectrum. And the second aspect is boundaries. Do you have any boundaries in your home? And are these boundaries implemented? Are you also following those boundaries? The other thing is, are your children doing chores? A study was done and it showed children who did chores at home became very happy adults and have had very stable lives as compared to kids who had everything done for them. And of course you'd understand because, trust me, The chores that are being done at home are the ones that teach kids how to live life in a family, in a setting, in a team. So are kids just allowed to eat and throw things on the floor and walk out as if nothing has happened? They go play, go throw things on the floor, and they are not allowed, they are not expected to clean? Those are some of the boundaries. Who cleans the table after all you guys have eaten? Who cleans the floor after you've messed it? Is there someone who comes and follows your child and clean up their mess? Because if this is how you're training your child, trust me, that's how they're going to grow. And don't be surprised when they become adults and would expect people around them to also be running around them to clear their mess. Do you have values? Do you have conduct systems at a personal level? How do you relate? Is there respect? Is there honor? Is there kindness? Is there gentleness amongst the people who live in your space? How do your children and also you as a parent relate to the adults around your life? Do you speak about people in a very negative way to a point where your children are actually normalizing speaking negatively towards someone? How do you treat the subordinates, the people who are actually living under your care? Are you putting up an implication that actually the fact I can afford this, I can do anything to you guys na hakuna kitu mtanifanya? Then the third thing is overprotecting our children. I sometimes do this, I must confess. But I've come to realize the more you overprotect your child, the less opportunities you give them to learn. So okay, of course this depends on the neighborhood and all that. But if you can, is it okay for you to send your child to the shop and they come back? Are you allowing your child to fail? No one wants their child to fail. No one. Like you really, really want them to always be the best, the best, the best. But imagine, character is built in failures, not wins. As an adult, I'm a testimony of that. The more you fail, the more your character develops. It's just as simple as that. And you kind of become very aware of honoring the process as opposed to the results, because the person who fails is better than the person who never started. So let's allow our children to fail without really needing the effect of protecting them. It is okay for them to go through the emotions of pain and frustrations and being so angry and mad that they've really, really tried and still this thing didn't work. That's character development, and it is important for them to go through that when they are children. And I always say, the earlier you fail, the better you become. Because if you don't fail, you'll always be so naive. The other thing that we commonly do as parents is constantly entertaining our children, especially our little toddlers. Allow your child to be bored. I remember, I think I was talking to a parent and she was like, but my child will be bored. I'm like, it's good. Let your child be bored. It's very healthy to be bored. It allows your brain to think of other things to do other than depending on gadgets. Because most of us have a TV on and always have a phone, because if we don't have, we get bored, and it's very okay to be bored. Okay? What you're supposed to do as a parent is just make sure that there are kids around to play with and there are toys that they can use. If there are kids who are old enough, then there are books in the house to read. But do not allow your child to interrupt their boredom with gadgets, with all these things that are fast. Let them go to the kitchen and learn to cook if they're of age, if they're bored. Because the more you allow your child to have these free times of them being bored, usually they'll come up with something. And usually that thing is usually good for themselves. And you find with time, they may even end up perfecting. I know of a girl who, there was a time that she was constantly on the phone. She was, I think, around how old? I think she was around 12, 13. So she was constantly on the phone and it became a problem. And so what happened is the parents withdrew the phone and limited. And she started baking. And imagine she became one of the best bakers in her school. And you can imagine if she never got this opportunity, she would never have known that she actually has a talent in baking. And chances are she may end up doing that for the rest of her life. Okay? So allowing a child to be bored is okay, because then it helps them to think differently and act differently and always come up with other things that will entertain them other than the gadgets. But it's not your responsibility as a parent to constantly entertain your child. No. It's okay to be bored. Everybody gets bored in this world. The fourth thing is offering excessive praise. Now, it is okay for your child to be the best, maybe the best, the best athlete in the school. but do not balloon it and make it such a big deal to a point where if for any reason next term or next academic year they compete, he or she becomes number 2, it makes them miserable. No. It is very good for you to praise your children, but do not overdo it. Offer praise judiciously. Offer praise, just enough praise for them to feel like mommy and daddy and everybody around me has actually appreciated what I've done. Always remember, the value of your child is not outside them. The value of your child is inside of them. Okay? It is their self-worth. It is who they believe they are from the inside out, not from the outside in. So the medals and all the claps and all the stand ovations are very good, extremely good, but that's not where they get their values from. So that the day they get a silver medal, a bronze, or they even miss a medal altogether, it does not make them any less. It's who they are. That's the most important thing. Then on the same note, we should always try to allow our children to embrace imperfections. You see, when you're a child, we allow our children to just be. As I always say, allow your children to play with other children. Through that, they'll be able to learn what I'm good at, what I'm not so good at, and be able to embrace themselves as holistically, knowing there are things that I'm very good at, but there are things that I'm not so good at, and other people are good at. Okay? And some of these things can actually only be found when playing amongst kids of the same age. The most important thing is remove this notion from your child that they actually have to be perfect in everything. No one is. Okay? And that's one of the problems with narcissists. You want kids who understand and appreciate, these are my strengths and these are my weaknesses, and together they form me. And me is enough. I do not need any validation from outside. Me is enough, and that settles it. Then the fifth thing, which I think is the most important one, is the fact that we should love our children for who they are. Our childhood dreams should never be imposed on our children. If your child was called to be a baker, allow your child to bake. If your child was called to be a coder, allow your child to code. If your child was never called to be a musician, please spare that child. Love your child for who they are, not who you wish they were. If you have your dreams as a parent and you were not able to accomplish them, please spare your children your frustrations. This is a new life that you've been given to nurture. Nurture it and let it blossom to become that which God intended it to be. I really hope this helps someone, and bye-bye. God bless you.